Welcome, dancers, and congratulations for taking the time and making the effort to view this video before you learn the material in class. You may be hearing a lot about something called the flipped classroom or flipped learning. This concept means that you are learning the information that is basic to understanding the concepts before you come to class, and then when you get to class you explore and apply the more complex concepts. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. You're going to be learning about locomotor movement, simple and combined steps, non-locomotor and axial movement, and self and general space. You'll be learning it on the video, the basic concepts, and then taking these basic concepts to apply and understand them in a more sophisticated and challenging way during class. Both locomotor movement and non-locomotor movement or axial movement have some similarities, but they are basically very different, and you just need to understand those differences. You need to memorize and understand and remember. Locomotor movement moves, non-locomotor movement does not move through space. Locomotor movement travels through space and can usually be identified by weight transference from one foot to the other, from one foot to both feet, from both feet to one foot. Non-locomotor movement or axial movement is stationary and does not travel. It moves around the axis or the center of the body. It can move in any direction within the kinesphere. This word kinesphere is important to remember because that means it's the same thing as your body bubble or your self space. Your personal space. All locomotor and non-locomotor axial movements are considered the foundation of human movement. All humans apply some or all of these concepts in their everyday lives. Locomotor movement uses general space. General space is a space outside your self or personal space, and a dancer will use general space when they travel across the floor. Non-locomotor movement uses self space. Self space is a space that a person is moving within and can reach without traveling in space, often referred to as their kinesphere or, as I mentioned before, their personal space or their body bubble. General space can be looked at compared to going from class to class. Self space can be compared to sitting at a desk. As we look at the diagram below, we're going to understand how self space and general space fit into the categories of the elements of dance, which are the basic elements that we use in dance, which are time, space, and energy. And below the category of space, we have general space and self space. So you can see them in a larger context. Don't be overwhelmed. You'll be studying this in class. That we have all these lists and charts and categories and organization of dance. But this just helps us to organize it in our heads. And if you look over here, highlighted in green, we see the elements of dance. And here we have space. And within space, we have self space and general space. And if you get a chance later, you might want to just kind of look at this chart and get yourself a little bit familiar with it because we'll be using this a lot throughout the year. The locomotor steps are walk, run, jump, hop, leap, gallop, slip, slide, and skip. Any combination of these 8 steps can combine to create any other step. Now I know that sounds hard to believe, but it's true. So you might want to just try it yourself. Even if it's a jazz step or a ballet step, they combine to create any other step. You will find these same steps in other dance forms including ballet, which uses French as its primary language, And dancers can use a variety of dance vocabulary and language to understand dance and describe their movement. Now, if you look at this next slide, you'll see that slide is the same thing as a chassé, a leap is the same thing as a jeté, and a jump is the same thing as a soubresaut. They're all part of the language of dance. So instead of trying to put one into a category and the other one into a category, we want to think of them as in a bowl all mixed together like a melting pot, where we have the language of modern and ballet and jazz, and we put them all together and we use those tools to best inform our language of dance. And we want to just use and mix them for whatever way is best, but we do want to understand that there are differences. So the simple locomotor steps are walk, which uses the transfer of weight from one foot to another with one foot in constant contact to the floor. So if we were walking across the street, one foot would always be in contact with the floor. Running is a transfer of weight from one foot to another. During weight transfer, both feet are briefly off the floor. So when we run, if we were to slow it down and do it in slow motion, we would notice that there's one brief moment where both feet are off the floor. Hop is the transfer of weight from one foot to the same foot with a spring action of the foot. And that's pretty self-explanatory. A jump is a transfer of weight from both feet to both feet with a spring action in the air. And a leap is the transfer of weight from one foot to another with a longer time of non-support and pushing off with a spring to land on the other foot. So these are the simple locomotor steps. Sorry, excuse me. Oops, we went back. I don't know how. Okay. Then we have the combined or more complex locomotor steps. They consist of a skip, a slide, and a gallop. A skip consists of a walk and a hop in an uneven rhythm. A skip alternates sides. So we skip right and left and right and left. And a skip just happens to be my favorite movement. I think it just brings the most joy to people's hearts. A slide consists of a walk and a leap. And the other leg chases. It is an uneven rhythm. A gallop consists of a combination of a walk and a leap in an uneven rhythm. And if you were to look at children, they often, well, they always, gallop before they skip. Children learn how to skip about 4 years of age, and you might have a very vivid and clear memory of when you learned to skip. Many dance educators believe that rolling and crawling should be considered part of the basic locomotor steps. I tend to go into that category because we roll and crawl as infants, and they're part of how we move through space and really what we do before we walk and jump and hop and skip. So I consider them to be part of the locomotor steps. So what do you think? Do you think a triplet should be considered? Or do you think a schottische should be considered part of the basic locomotor steps? So non-locomotor or axial movement is any movement that does not travel and occurs above a stationary base. It uses the available space in any direction or movement organized around the axis of the body, or axial movement. So this includes rise, swing, lunge, stretch, collapse, turn, bounce, bend, pull, kick, shake, punch, sway, slash, twist. It's as if you have one foot that's stuck to the floor and you can move in any direction out away from that foot, or maybe one hand is stuck to the floor. You're just not traveling through space. So humans learn movement skills sequentially. We learn to sit, then we roll, then we crawl, then we walk, then we jump, then we gallop, then we leap, then we hop, then we slide, then we skip. There's a very specific sequence. There's been a lot of controversy, and you might have heard this before, that if you learn to walk before you crawl, that you're not as good of a reader as if you learn to crawl before you walk. And these kinds of discussions are still up in the air, but I think that personally there's a great validity in moving through these patterns in a sequential manner for children's learning. Humans learn through play, exploration, and human interaction, and that's how we learn. We don't learn how to crawl or hop or jump by someone teaching us how to jump as a young child. All of these skills are learned best at an early age. What you want to do is allow your children to explore on a flat surface with lots of stimuli around them. And put your children in soccer, swimming, dance, gymnastics, or just take them to the playground when they're young. These things are all very important. Whoops. Let's go back. So we're going to watch a video. It's a really cute video. Let's see how fast I can get to it here. And it shows a child. Oops. So you'll hear me talk a lot about this throughout the year, in that because of the research on children's brains and what we know of the impact of movement on children, it's becoming clearer and clearer how important it is at an early age. So I'm just going to go ahead and start this. Oh, skip. Oh, just ignore that. Just ignore that. Oh no, oh no, oh no. What's happening? What's happening? Okay, here we go. This is Charles Edward. And the thing I like about, well, many things I like about this video, is that this child, as you can see,